So this demonstration is going to go over the metallic layer on your gargoyle. But before we get to that, I just want to show you, I did finish the black layer on this little guy, and it was actually kind of hard because he has a lot of texture and a lot of areas that were just hard to get my brush into. So just be aware that that may happen to you as well. It's super beneficial to pick your gargoyle up and look at the undersides of everything to make sure that you have in fact painted everything black, because it's really easy to miss something. Another thing I wanted to show you was that I know I told you I didn't want you to paint the bottom. However, I did go ahead and paint the bottom of the feet and the hind legs because I felt like if I didn't, you would still possibly be able to see some bare clay when the gargoyle was sitting down on the table. Now, if you do go ahead and paint something on the bottom like this, just make sure you don't immediately set your gargoyle down on the newspaper while the paint is wet, because the paint will adhere to the newspaper and you'll probably get a nice, some nice layers of newspaper on your feet. I apologize, there is an announcement.
Bring your laptops, thank you.
Also notice that I can still see my name, because that is, after all, what I am leaving the bottom bare for, is so that we can make sure that you can put your name on there and I can easily read it. Again, we are working with acrylic paint, so be careful. Acrylic paint will stain your clothing, like I said last time, so make sure your sleeves are rolled up and that you've removed any clothing that you can that could possibly get paint on it. So now we're working with metallic paint. It's still acrylic, but it's metallic acrylic paint. I've got all of the colors that are available to you here on your yogurt lid, or my yogurt lid. You do not have to use all the colors. I will talk to you about that in just a second. I also have my stiff bristled brush, so we're using a bigger brush this time. And what you want to make sure of is that you can easily separate the brushes on the very tip, because we're going to be using the tips of the bristles to create the faux speckled finish over the black layer. So here are the colors available to you. We've got gold, we've got brass, we've got silver, and we've got copper. Now I would recommend choosing one or two of the colors. I don't necessarily recommend doing more than that, but if you really want to do a third color, I can work with you and make that happen. I'm also going to ask that you get a paper towel and have it wet and sort of ready, sitting off to the side. And you'll see how I'm going to use this in just a little bit. So the first step is to take my stiff bristled brush and make sure that the bristles are separated. So just kind of fan them out, or you can do this down on the table to make sure that everything is separated. Once I've done that, I'm going to choose my color or colors. I think I'm going to go with gold and copper for my gargoyle today. I'm going to choose one color to lay down first. It's up to you which one you do. I'm going to lay down the gold first. That one's going to be a little bit more subtle. So what I'm going to do is just dip the tip of my paintbrush into the gold paint. And then this is a really important step. You want to make sure that you blot, okay? And you're welcome to do that onto your newspaper. Just make sure you don't accidentally set your elbow down in it. Because what I'm looking to do is get a majority of the paint off of the tips of my bristles. So there's just a small amount left. Now, once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and start to just lightly tap the tips of the bristles onto the surface of my gargoyle. Now, I'm not looking to use a paintbrush motion. You can see that I'm just tapping the tips of the bristles down. Okay, you need to reapply your paint. Don't forget to blot, and then continue just lightly tapping the tips of the bristles down. I'm going to hold up the gargoyle in a second so you can see a little bit more closely what this looks like. All right, so you can see we've got our faux finish or speckled layer starting to form. Move on. Okay. Now I'm not going to go ahead and do the whole thing because that would make this demo really, really long. But if I'm working with two colors, what I would do is I would go ahead and coat the whole thing in gold. Okay, let it set for a minute. Make sure the gold is dry. It will not take too long for it to dry because acrylic paint actually dries fairly quickly. Once the first coat is dry, okay, then I can move on to my second color, which I'll do in a minute. Now, if you're only doing one coat, before you decide that you're totally finished, make sure that you pick up your gargoyle, check the undersides of things, because just like the black layer, you want to make sure that you get the metallic layer on all surfaces of your gargoyle. Now, if you are doing a second coat, once that first coat dries, go ahead and dip your brush in your second color. Notice I didn't wash my brush. We're not using much paint for this, so you really don't need to rinse it out, but if you really want to, you can. And I'm going to blot and then start to do the second color right over top the first color. And I'll show you what this looks like in just a second. Now the copper color can be kind of intense, so just be careful that you blot if you're using the copper color, because it does show up a little bit brighter than some of the other colors that you might choose. Now let's say you accidentally dip your brush into your paint and you forget to blot, and you do a big splotch that looks like that. You can get to that quickly, and this is why I have this sitting off to the side, ready to go. If you just wipe it off with that wet paper towel really quickly, you can get it off, let it dry, and then try it again if that happens. And you can really do that even if it's not a big blob like that. Even if you speckle it in an area and you just really don't like it, if you get to it quickly enough, you can just wipe it right off and start over fresh. All right, let me know if you have any questions, and happy gargoyle painting.